Alrighty, welcome back. On the last tutorial, what we did was we created our event for whatever we will be doing, whether that be for host videos or whatever video we might be making. So for this specific context, we are doing host videos, and we created all the events with all the audio, graphics, made an event for all the projects, and had the video imported. We sunk the audio as well. As you can see right here, here is all of our sunk audio clips. You can tell that because it says synchronized audio, or synchronized clip rather. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to jump into the welcome video. Now the welcome videos that we're doing right now in this kind of weird state with COVID-19 stuff is we are making a one host or one welcome video per series. So I will be making this one for the entire series of Psalms. So that way, during the week, all we have to shoot is the announcements / the exit videos. So what I will be doing for this is I am going to just go to projects, and the welcome will be for the Facebook. So let's double click on that. I mean, you notice nothing really happened except this went black and we got some additional editing stuff over here. So let's go ahead and move our timeline up. To do that, what you're going to do is hover in between where it says Welcome Facebook. This is how you know you're on a specific project right here. This is the timeline right here. You have your audio clipping right here. What we're going to do is in between here and your preview, there's going to be a little line right there where an arrow with a line pops up where we can move this up and down. So go ahead and drag that right about there. Alrighty, so let's go back to our video. Just click on the event. Remember, we're wanting to pull in the synchronized audio for this. So we see here, what we're going to do is we're just going to click and drag. You can also hit the shortcut E, and it will put it, oh goodness, it will put that at the end of the clip. So let's do that with Welcome 3. Again, all you can do is just click and drag, and put it right there. If you noticed when I click this off, you might by default have this on here where it does that. That is extremely annoying to me and a huge distraction when editing. So how to turn that off is just hover over this right here. You can turn video and audio skimming on or off. That's also the keyboard shortcut S. I always leave it off. There's literally no reason to have it on there. You do have skimming whenever you're trying to cut with the blade tool, but we don't need to do that. All right, so before we get into editing anymore, what we're going to need to do is make sure that our keyboard commands are exactly the same. So let's go to Commands in the Final Cut Pro tab right up here. Commands, hit Customize. Alrighty, and so what we're going to do is we're going to customize the C key, the X key, and the V key. The reason we're only going to do these three keys right here is because I also edit in Adobe Premiere Pro, and you might as well. So what that means for us is I want to make sure that these three keys specifically are the exact same, just because these are the three keys I use most of the time, specifically C and V. So what we're going to do is we are going to go click on the X key. We're going to search for enable / disable clip. So type in up here at the search bar right up here, enable. And if you're a terrible speller like me, that is okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this command right here in this window. We're going to drag it over here to the no modifier command. What that means is we don't have to press down command, we don't have to press down option, control, shift, or any of these options right here. We want to make sure that it's a no modifier key, so that way we can just hit X and enable / disable clip will happen. All right, so once you click that and drag that right there, let's move on to C. And what we're going to do is we're going to change this to the blade tool. So go back up to your search bar, search for blade, and click and drag that right there. Except, I'm sorry, make sure it is the blade tool, not just blade. So blade tool right there onto the no modifier. Once you have that, hit X, click on the V, and search for select tool. All right, and click and drag that over to no modifier. And once you have that, go down here to hit save. And what it's going to do is have you save it under a name. I just put First down because I work for First Christian Church, and this is the primary uses I have for this specific keyboard shortcut. So you can name it First, you can name it your first name, your last name, elephant, whatever the heck you want. Just for ease and purpose, I'd just name it First. So once we have that, hit save, name it, and hit X. Awesome. Now we can edit seamlessly together. So let's do this. So what we're going to do first is we're going to zoom in. You can zoom in by pinching out on your trackpad, or pinching in, zoom in and zoom out. You can also hit the Z tool and just click, and it will zoom in an increment at a time. You can also click and drag just like that, and it will zoom in to whatever window you drag it into. Whenever you do zoom in with the by pinching on your trackpad, you have to be super careful that you don't accidentally go into another dimension. So be super careful, practice it. It's one of those weird things where you're like, I don't really need to practice it, but you really actually do need to practice it. All right, so let's zoom in and let's go to the beginning of this timeline. What we're going to do is we're going to start editing this video. So let's go ahead and start listening to this. There's nothing right there. Cool. Let's zoom. Okay, she's talking a little bit and she stops right there. So let's go ahead and start right about here.
Hi, thanks for tuning in.
Okay, awesome. So that sounds like the very beginning. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit C. That's going to activate the blade tool. We're going to cut that there. What the blade tool does is it just makes a cut wherever you cut on a specific clip. So what we did is this is one clip right now. Hit the C tool. And what we're going to do is just click wherever we want. We can do it right there. Since our timeline is right here, I'm just going to click right on the timeline. Click, and you notice it cut it up into 2 different clips. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to delete that first clip. We don't need that. So let's play it now. Let's listen.
Hi, thanks for...
That sounds great for now. Okay, let's go ahead and let's go right here. She sees how the subject kind of pauses right there. So let's go ahead and listen to this.
Glad we can gather to worship this morning.
Okay, we want to take that awkward pause out because that would just make everyone feel uncomfortable. So what we're going to do is, like you just saw me do it, hit the blade tool and cut right there in the middle. See how it just created 2 different clips. And to jump back and forth between the select tool and the blade tool, this is what we just did in the command tool. So what we're going to do is for blade tool, we hit C. And then for the select tool, we hit V. These are the 2 tools you'll use more times than not. So get used to hitting those 2 keys. So let's go click on this clip right here. This first one, welcome one synchronous clip. See how they're the same thing, but we want to do the shorter one on the left side. All right, so now that we have this activated, it is in a yellow box around. So if you hover over this cut right here that we just did, you notice that these brackets appear. So you can kind of see how there are brackets going towards the left and then brackets going towards the right. You notice there's kind of like a film clip moving to the left right there. That means that it is going to edit that clip that it is pointing to. Wherever the bracket is pointing to, like the 2 arms going towards, that's where you're going to be editing. So I'm going to click on this so that way you can see. So I can increase this clip and I can decrease this clip. So increase and decrease. So this is also another tool that you're going to be using quite a bit. So let's go ahead and move this in right here, just like that. You see right down here, here's our audio. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see this just a little bit better. So these little peaks and mountain ranges right here, these are audio. So let's listen to this.
Glad we can gather to worship this morning.
All right, so you notice how it just kind of stopped right there? That's where we want to drag this over here too. Boom, just like that. And kind of the same thing right here. Let's listen to this.
Every week.
So you see that's a breath. We don't really need the breath in there. So let's go ahead and cut it right after that breath, right before she says anything. Let's take a listen to this.
Can gather to worship this morning. Every week.
That sounds great for now. Good job. You've just made your first edit. All right, so let's move on. And let's listen to this just a little bit more.
Our church hosts an online community at live.
All right, so this clip right here, this is talking about, for the people that are watching Fox right now, that there's an online community that they can go to. This is not the welcome that we're creating. We are creating the Facebook welcome. So that means that they're already online, so we don't need to push people towards going to the online. So what we're going to do is we're just going to cut this entire clip out. So you notice that it just says welcome 1. and then welcome to online through Give 1. We already know what these two audio and video clips are. So we can actually just delete this entire clip right here. Maybe. That looks better. Awesome. So now we know this online, this is going to be specific towards online viewership. So let's take a listen to this. Notice our audio down here. I'm just going to speed this up to right about here. See, she's not talking really. And this looks like a breath about to happen. Yep.
If you've tuned in online, feel
Great. So what I'm going to do is, instead of using the blade tool, I'm just going to bring this in right about there. You can also use the blade tool to do this. Cut and delete is whatever you decide to do, whatever is fastest for you, whatever you feel most comfortable doing. So let's take a listen.
to worship this morning. If you've tuned in online, feel free to like, comment on, or share the video you're watching.
Great.
Let's show everybody first is for everybody.
Awesome. There's an awkward pause there. You know what to do right here. So you can either do a cut right here. And remember, to get the blade tool, it is C on your keyboard. And to switch back to your select tool, it is V. So you can either cut right here in the middle, or you can cut right before the audio, right after the audio ends, and right at that breath. Right. We better do it right there. Click that, delete.
Every week at
Great. I'm going to trim this just a little bit more.
everybody. Every week at First
Awesome. So we notice we watching our audio down here, then we look right there. There's another break right there. So let's take a listen to this.
We recommend using crackers and juice.
All right, so this is talking about communion right here. So we know that there's going to be a new section that must be give, because we didn't talk about communion in our title right here. So I am going to assume that this is give.
At First, we practice life-giving generosity.
Awesome. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this awkward pause out. Just like that.
And juice. At First, we
job.
practice life-giving generosity through the use of the Give app, GYVE.
All right, we don't need to listen to all of this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to move along towards the end of this clip.
You give through the ministry of First, so the world... Okay.
And it looks like she kind of stumbled on that because she said okay, and now she's smiling because she's laughing. So we notice we have another give. So I'm just going to assume that we can delete this entire give announcement. This is the way it works when you don't work with paid actors. So let's go ahead and trim that to where we see the audio start looking like she's talking.
At First, we practice life-giving generosity through the use of the Give app, GYVE. When you give to the ministry of...
Great. I'm going to trim this just a little bit more. All right. I'm going to go to this little divot in the audio.
Partnering with First today. We want you to feel connected at First. For more information about who we are as a church.
Awesome. So this is talking about who we are as a church. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a cut right here so that way I know that I need to add in a transition right there. So I'm going to trim this just a little bit more, and we'll get into transitions here in just a second.
Church. For sermon notes on today's message and more, check out our Sunday resource page at fcc-online.org/Sunday. Again, glad you're with us. I invite you to be open and listen to how God might speak to you today.
Cool. And let's just get our blade tool. C, click, V, select, and delete. Good job. Everything is now cut down to size. And what we're going to do now is we're going to start adding in our transitions. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our graphics up here, hit the drop down arrow, and then I'm going to move this over so we can see what the name is. So this says transition background, title cards, logos, intro, outro, give, Fox, and announcement slides. Let's go to transition background. So we're going to use the first transition. That's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and find out where we need to do this first.
Can gather to worship this morning.
How I know where I'm going to be putting all of these transition is I look at each of these cuts. Why I put all those cuts in there is I know I need to add a transition there. So I'm just going to review all of these before I put in a transition and make my life just a little bit more easy.
If you've tuned in online, feel free.
I'm going to listen to that again.
We can gather to worship this morning. If you've tuned in online, feel free.
I'm not going to put one in there. I'm actually just going to put a crossfade in here. So over here is going to be our effects and transitions. So this guy right here, this is going to be the effects browser. There's going to be several different things in here that we can use for both video and audio. You see these two tabs right here. This is not what I'm wanting right now, so I'm just going to click on that again. And I'm going to click this like infinity symbol looking guy. So this is the transition. There's some really bad transitions in here. There's only one transition I ever use built into Final Cut Pro, and that's cross dissolve, is because it's really hard to mess up cross dissolve. So let's go ahead and click and drag, and I'm going to add that in right there. So let's look at this.
Worship this morning. If you've tuned...
So that's just a little bit too long for my liking. So I'm going to double tap on that to expand this browser. So you can see where this top clip fades out and where this bottom clip fades in. So I'm just going to decrease the amount of time that it takes. And I'm going to move this clip over. Again, looking at the audio right there. I'm going to move this guy over just a little bit. Let's look at this.
This morning. If you've tuned in online.
That looks great. So we're going to double tap on this again to make this window go away. Awesome. Great job. And you've just now put in your first transition. Good job. All right, I'm going to close this tab so that way I have more view of the timeline. All right, I'm going to zoom in here. All right, so I see a cut right here. So let's take a look at this.
For everybody. Every week at First Christian Church.
All right, so we are going to want to put this first transition in here. So you notice it's kind of a long clip, and really, if we go back up here, we don't need all of this. So if you look over here in our preview area right here, as I'm dragging this bar in, it goes away. So how you can make clips shorter before you actually import them into your timeline is you can drag these yellow bars in, and all that's going to happen is all that's going to be brought into the timeline is whatever is in these yellow bars. So we know that we want all of this, and you notice how I cut this and trimmed it down to what I need it to be. So we really only need that much. So now I'm just going to click and drag it in. You notice how it's a little bit smaller. So let's go and zoom in. And kind of the goal that we are going for this transition is wherever the peak of the audio is right there is where I want to put at the cut. So let's take a look.
Every week at...
Let's back it up a little bit more.
For everybody. Every week at First Christian...
That looked seamless. Awesome. So go ahead and click on this. And this audio is just a little bit too loud when I made this clip. So what we're going to do is just going to go to the volume tab up here. And then we're going to click right here. And we're going to do negative. Oh, goodness. We're going to do negative. I didn't expect that to happen. -6. Awesome. Let's take a listen to this now.
Buddy. Every week at First...
That seemed a lot better to me. And congratulations. That's your second transition. Anyway, let's go and move on to this next cut. Let's see what this is.
Crackers and juice. At first, we practiced...
Yes, that looks good. Before adding a transition, I want this just to be a little bit shorter. That looks great. Add this guy in. Remember, put it at the peak. Let's look at it.
Crackers and juice. At first, we...
And I'm actually going to shorten this up just a little bit more. It's a lot of playing around if you like it or not. It's really up to your discretion.
We recommend using crackers and juice. At first, we...
That looks good. Now let's decrease the audio. -6 again. Try not to lock my computer this time. All right. Now, let's go to this cut right here. Let's listen to it.
Consider partnering with First today. We want you to feel connected at first.
So that's transitioning from like giving to being connected. So let's go to add in a transition. Remember, put it at the peak.
We want you...
Let's back it up just a little bit
Consider
more.
partnering with First today.
All right, you notice how it kind of held on her just a little bit too long? I don't like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to back this up right about there. And you notice how we're constantly zooming in and zooming out and using these brackets. Get used to that.
You're partnering with First today. We want you to feel...
That looks great. It seemed a little bit longer on this clip now. So let's go ahead and trim this up just a little bit more and back it up.
App Store. Consider partnering with First today. We want you to feel...
That looks great. Remember, we want these to be short and concise. They're informational, but they're also constrained to a time limit. So let's go ahead and do -6 on that audio. And I believe that is going to be the last transition that we need in on this one. Yep, that's all the cuts that we have. All right, let's go ahead and let us move on to graphics. So we have our transitions in. So I'm actually going to review what we've done so far. We've put in all the footage for the welcome. We've cut down the footage to a usable file. Then we've added transitions in to kind of stitch together our cuts and our hard cuts that we've made. So now what we're going to do is add in graphics for visual elements. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add in a title card because I know that she says her name in here, but we also want people to be able to read what she says. So, or read what her name is, rather. So let's go ahead and let's find Erin Fenelon, because that's who this is. If you don't know who it is, ask your supervisor for whoever is looking over this project. So we see title card, or TCM Erin Fenelon. What this means is title card motion Erin Fenelon. So that means that this is a motion template. Look at that. Beautiful. Oh, I just did something. All right, so I'm going to stop that. And these are for 10 seconds long. That is okay. So let's just go ahead and drag that right just at the beginning of the timeline. And let's take a look at this. I'm going to back this up to about 10-second timeline.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian Church of Champaign and Urbana. My name is Erin, and I'm the...
So I don't like the name being displayed before she says it. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to find where she says her name.
My name is Erin.
When she says name, that's where I want, and the name was right about in here. That's where I want the beginning of this title card to be. So let's take a look at this again.
First Christian Church of Champaign and Urbana. My name is Erin, and I'm the Champaign location pastor.
That looks great.
Glad we can gather to worship this morning. If you've tuned in online, feel free to like, comment on, or share the video.
You notice how it just went away? Awesome. That's all we need for that. All right, let's go ahead and let's add in additional graphics. So we're going to add in some still graphics now, and those are going to be under intro, outro. So for the welcome video, we have some specific intro ones that we use. This is my favorite one to use. So we'll be able to see if this one actually works in the setting. We are constantly changing the backdrop of where we actually shoot. Right now we're shooting in our playground area at our Champaign location. Sometimes we shoot at the Urbana location. Sometimes we shoot outside. Sometimes we shoot in the lobby of the Champaign location. So each of these are just dependent on the lighting and the backdrop of each location. So I personally like using this one the most. So let's go ahead and see what this looks like. Doesn't look too bad. Delete that out of there. Let's go ahead and triple check to make sure none of these other ones look better. We can't even read that one, so let's not use it. Use the all white. The all white looks pretty good. It's kind of boring, to be honest. So let's use this one. It's a little smaller. You can read it if you want to. It's got more color. I say it's good. So what we're going to do is this one's going to be in the entire video except for the give portion. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to see how the bracket opens up. Let's just go ahead and bring that all the way to the front. And click on it and all the way to the end. And if you notice that it's not like snapping to anything anymore, that's because snap has now been turned off. So over here, we kind of messed with this guy earlier. This right here is the snap function. That means you must have hit in, or it just sometimes randomly turns off. So go ahead and hit in on your keyboard and it turns it back on, or you can just come over here and click it. So as we're dragging, now, boom, it snaps. That's great. Okay, what I want to do is I want to make sure that this graphic is underneath these transitional wipes. So you notice right now, if I zoom in on this guy, it's still above the transition wipe. I want them to be underneath it. So what we're going to do is just going to click it and we're going to drag it underneath. You notice how everything else just popped back up. That's great. That's what we want. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to find out where the give is, and we're going to have to cut this out.
Every week at First Christian Church, we take communion.
All right, that's communion. Let's go ahead and move on to this one.
At first, we practice life-giving generosity.
That sounds like giving to me. Let's speed it up just a little bit.
Ministry of First to the world around us. You can download. All
right, so this entire clip is for a like from transition to transition is give. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do something kind of advanced here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it after this transition. And then I'm going to resume it. Actually, no. Before that, I'm not going to do any cuts. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it. I'm going to click on my effects tab over here, or that's Command 5, I believe. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to look at the tabs on video, look for masks. And we have 5 different masks here. What we're going to do is hit draw mask. We're going to drag it and we're going to drop it onto this welcome intro logo plus URL test graphic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out in my preview up here, go to view. I'm sorry, the percentage, I'm so sorry. 12.5%. Now we can barely see what is actually happening. You notice on the screen though, it says click to add a control point. What we're going to do is I'm going to click above. Great. And now at a diagonal angle, I'm going to click below this preview. See how it's a diagonal? And now I'm going to click past the preview at a straight line. And now I'm going to make another diagonal. And then I'm just going to join all these together. Boom. Now we're able to move this around. What a mask is it's an invisible layer that is going to be able to reveal whatever is inside or outside of this shape that we just drew. So if you notice, you can still see this graphic in here. If I turn it on and off, you can still see it. So what this means is everything inside the mask you're able to see. So if I drag, you notice how that URL has disappeared now. Same thing over here with the logo and welcome to. So that means that everything inside this mask is visible. If you go over here to your effects panel and you see invert mask, what this is going to do is it's going to do the exact opposite of that. Now we can't see anything. Now everything outside of this shape is visible, just like that. That's what we want for this one. We want it to be everything outside. So what we're going to do is, since this is over it and we can't see it, that means it's inverted. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this over here all the way to the left to make sure everything's visible. Just like that. You want it right before the picture actually starts. So now we can zoom in just a little bit more to 25%. Since we're in 4K, we're going to be zoomed in quite a bit. Or zoomed out quite a bit, rather. So what we're going to do now is hit transform on this draw mask in your effects panel. Transform. And we're going to add a keyframe on position. Click on that. You want to bring your, actually you want to undo that. I'm so sorry. Bring your line on your timeline. I don't know the technical name for it. Bring it to the very front of this transition right before the give. So at the transition, what you're going to do is hit a keyframe. Wherever your keyframe is, that means that whatever this is, so it's in this case, it's a mask. What we're going to do is we're going to keyframe this, which means wherever we put this mask, that's where it knows in the timeline we are going to have it right there. So we're going to hit forward or the right arrow key on our keyboard, and that brings the entire timeline one frame, moves it one frame down the timeline. So now what we're going to do is we're going to follow, whenever we're taking a graphic off, we're going to follow this front blue line. So you notice over here it just created a keyframe. Go forward, and now the blue line is up here. So let's follow that, and it just created a keyframe. Click an arrow again, follow it, arrow again, and we're just going to keep doing this. Keep it with whatever shape is at the front. And now that the shape is all the way to the right side, we can just move this all the way over here. Good job. You just masked something. So let's watch this.
At first.
And now it's not there. That's what a mask does. So let's go ahead and go down our timeline all the way to the next transition. This is where we want this graphic to appear again at this transition. So what we're going to do is we're going to place our line on our timeline If you know the technical name for it, cool. What we're going to do now is we're going to hit the arrow key at the very beginning of this transition. So arrow key to the right to move it down 1 frame. You notice how it starts up again. Go to wait this time. We're going to wait for the yellow line. That's when we want graphics to appear. So again, 2 frames, no yellow line. 3 frames, still no yellow line. 4 frames, where the heck is this yellow line? 5 frames in, there it is. So now we can bring this graphic in. Notice how it created a keyframe. Keep bringing this in, and it is revealing this graphic again. So keep moving it along with this yellow line. And now we can just completely move it off screen. Great job. Let's go and watch this.
With first today, we want you to...
That is seamless. Great job. All right. So now you might be asking, okay, well, Josh, what is happening during this time right here? Well, during this time right here, we're going to have another graphic on screen. This is the give portion. We're talking about the give app and how to give to the ministry first. What we're going to want to do is use the sides opacity gradient. So you see how it kind of goes opacity to full opacity. We're going to bring this one in right there. Expand this past the transition to where it looks something like that. We're going to add in that draw mask again. Boom. Just like that. Make sure that we have enough room on each side. Go to the front. Oh, playhead. That's what this is. Look at that. That's called the playhead. Not line on timeline. So I do know what it is. So what we're going to do is now that we have a mask in this, we're going to draw the exact same mask. So diagonal line. Kind of this rhombus shape right here. So again, a mask view. You notice how it is not affecting the other graphic. That's because we added this mask to the sides opacity gradient for the give graphic. So this one, we do not want to invert it. We want it to do the exact opposite of what the original graphic is doing. So since the playhead is at the beginning of this first transition right here, and this is the give portion, what we want to do is move this all the way to the left off screen, kind of like what we did with the other one. Let's zoom in just a little bit more to 25%. Go to transforms in your effect panel over here. Hit keyframe. And now this is telling, the timeline is telling the effect panel, hey, at this point, this is where this mask needs to be. We move it in 1 keyframe, and we notice that this blue line happens. So remember, when we are taking a graphic off, we move it with the very front object. When we're bringing a graphic onto screen, we move it with the yellow line. So let's move it in 5 frames, because that's when the yellow line appears. So now we just drag this in, and it starts revealing that give logo. And just keyframe this in. Look at that. This is looking dope. Good job. All right, let's watch this.
Crackers and juice. At first, we...
Great job. That looks amazing. All right, so let's go to speed up here. Bring your playhead to the front of this transition. Make a keyframe. And bring this all the way up here. Good job. So if you notice, like, if you move your playhead down, that mask, that orange or the red shape moves just a little bit. That's because it's bringing it to this keyframe that we just made. All right. Remember, if we're taking a graphic off, we move it with the front object, just like that. Use your right arrow key to just move 1 frame per second. Great job. And that's all that we need to do for that. So let's go take a look at the beginning.
And juice. At first, we practice life-giving.
Great job. Now let's move on to over here. Now you notice that something happened here. So let's go and figure out what we did wrong here. So to troubleshoot this, to jump between keyframes, you see over here in your effects panel where it says draw mask and transform, you have these little arrows with keyframe symbols. So let's go ahead and click on this left one. So the left one is over here, and it moved our playhead all the way over here. And so let's go click on the right one. This is going to jump us to the next keyframe, which is right there. That's not right. So what we need to do is we need to move this mask over so that way it's off screen. So now let's see what happens if we go to the next keyframe now. So see, it's moving just a little bit too fast. So somewhere I messed up in editing this. So let's just move this back with that front object. So I mean, this is fine right here. So notice it cuts it off a little bit too soon right there. Move this back again and again. And it's super easy to mess up keyframes, so don't be afraid to go back and fix it. So let's go watch this again.
At first,
Great job. And again.
first today, we want you to.
That looked great. Awesome. Congratulations. You just masked something. If you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to your supervisor and they will be able to help you out with that, which will probably be me. Alrighty. So we are almost done with this. This is so exciting. So let's go ahead and make a compound clip. This is where I'm going to add a new event. I'm going to store all of my compound clips in here. So go to File, New, Event. Name it Compound Clips. Make sure it's 4K in Psalms, in the library Psalms. Everything looks good. If you don't have this setting, again, you use custom settings and make sure everything right here looks the same for your project or event. Hit OK. What a compound clip is it compounds whatever you tell it to. So by compounding, what I mean is if I want to combine all of these clips down here to make them one seamless clip like this one looks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these, right click or tap with 2 fingers on your touchpad, hit new command or new compound clip. Click on that. And now what we're going to want to do is we're going to name this Welcome Facebook, and I'm going to name it Video. And before you hit OK, make sure you save this in the event Compound Clips. Remember, we want to stay super organized here in Final Cut. Hit OK and go to watch down here to see what happens to our timeline. It now makes it one seamless clip. That's a good thing for what we're about to do. So if you go to Compound Clips, you now see that there's an untitled project. You can go delete that because we don't need that. And you notice this little folder looking guy right here. That's our compound clip. That's what this is. So let's go ahead and let's continue editing this Welcome Facebook. What we're going to do now is we're going to add color. And you might be asking, why do we need to be adding color? Because this right here is not exactly a flattering image. It's very flat. It doesn't look the best. There's no saturation really. I mean, you can see some colors, like this back here is supposed to be like a teal green. This over here is supposed to be green, brown, red, blue. That's pretty saturated. But whenever we shoot in a neutral profile. That way we can add in color and have control over the color in post rather than in camera. So what we're going to do is there is an application called MLUT. If you do not have MLUT, be sure and talk to the person that's over this project and we will get you MLUT by Motion VFX. This is how we input LUTs onto our footage. So if you don't have this, pause the video and call the person that is in charge of this project and we'll get this for you. But if you do have this, continue the video, click it, drag it, and we're going to input that onto this. Nothing happened. That is okay. What we're going to do is go over here to your video inspector, and you notice MLUT by Motion VFX is open. Okay, so what do I do with this? Hit show, and now you have a whole bunch of different options of being able to edit color. We're not really going to use any of these stuff down here. What we're going to do is we're just going to load in a custom LUT. I'm sorry. If you do not have the LUTs put in, you're going to load in the custom LUT. But if you do have them, go to MLUT presets. Awesome. And we have all of these. If you do not have access to these, again, pause the video and ask the person in charge of this to get these for you. Alrighty, so I like to use singularity for this one because it just usually looks really good. It's kind of intense right there, doesn't look the best. But what we're going to do is we're just going to file through all these. It kind of looks nasty. Looks pretty good. That looks pretty good as well. So it's between abyss, polar, and singularity. Don't worry about the color temperature. We will be able to change that in just a second. So I'm actually going to go with polar on this one. Hit OK. Hit hide. All right, what we're going to do now is we're going to go up here to this triangle. Hover over it. It says color inspector. All right, so you notice up here it says no corrections. Hit that drop down arrow. Hit color wheels. This is going to give us control over the shadows, highlights, midtones, and the entire thing. What we're going to do first is we're going to fix this color temperature after we've inputted this LUT. So if you notice, if you bring it all the way to the left, that's going to make it super cool. Bring it all the way to the right, it's going to make it super warm. Everything is measured in Kelvin. So if we're shooting with a 5600 Kelvin light bulb, we will dial it in on our camera to shoot at the color temperature 5600 Kelvin. If that actually doesn't actually happen when we shoot the video, then we have to manually change it. And I'm actually just going to bring this all the way about to 3700. That looks good. All right, moving up here to the wheels. This right side is going to be luma. Luma is how much exposure is happening. So if we bring this all the way up, it exposes everything in the shadows. Bring it all the way down, takes everything away from the shadows. Same thing with the midtones. Same thing with the highlights. So what we're going to do is we're going to mess around with these. I'm actually going to bring the shadows up just a little bit. And midtones, I'm actually going to bring the shadows down even more. Cool. Let's bring the saturation and the shadows up just a little. It's all about playing around with what looks good and what doesn't. The main thing is we don't want the person to look fake or like that. That looks terrible. All right. In order to view what you've done, you can hit this arrow. Looks just a little bit better. Let's go make this full screen. That doesn't look too bad, to be completely honest. Doesn't look bad. She looks a little pink and a little bit kind of wonky. So what we're going to do is exit out of this, and we're going to add in another correction. So we're going to go to curves this time. I'm sorry, hue and saturation. I'm used to a different program. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit hue versus hue, hit this eyedropper, and we're going to choose kind of a pink part of her skin. We want to make sure that the skin tone is good. So you notice it brought up 3 points here. What we're going to do is we're going to adjust the middle point. So you notice there's a point over here. You might be confused with like, well, maybe this one's the middle point. No, they're going to be pretty close in proximity. So we're going to just play around. She looks like an alien there. She looks sick right there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to bring this down a little bit to where she looks a little bit more orange. Go to hue versus saturation, hit the eyedropper, and go over here to that color that we just created. You can play around with the saturation. And we can just mess around with these. To where this looks like a decent picture. That doesn't look too bad. So you can actually play around with pretty much any color. Like say we want to play with this background color. So you can change all of these all around. But remember, whenever we're making videos, we don't want them to be a distraction, and we don't want them to look bad either. So this looks good. To save time, what we're going to do is we're going to hit Save Effect Preset. What we're going to do is you want to make a new category, name it First Color. So I'm going to name this Aaron F. Playground Host. Put it in first color, hit save. So when we go over here to our video effects, first color, Aaron F Playground Host. So now in future videos, as in the other 3 that we're going to be making, we're just going to add this one in and just literally drag it on top, just like that. We don't need to do that for now. So this looks good. This is looking really good. The next thing we need to do is audio. So audio work is super, super important. So let's go ahead, go over here to what looks like an audio thing. Click on that in your inspector. And we're going to open up our effects. Go to audio. We can actually just search for this. We want to do add a compressor. All right. And as we're adding this compressor, you notice it doesn't have anything right here. So we need to make sure we hit all on audio and 3 things come up. Just add this first compressor in. Alrighty. So now we're going to edit this. Click on, in order to get to this window right here, we're going to click on this guy right there. So you notice that we have this window up. What we're going to do is we're going to turn auto gain off, go over here to side chain, and make sure it's max and peak. So go back to output. What we're going to do now is we're just going to take a listen to it.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian Church of Champaign and Urbana.
Doesn't sound bad. So let's go to graph. That way we can actually see what's happening right here.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First
And you can
Christian
see
Church
right
of
here
Champaign
where
and Urbana.
this little square is
My
moving
name
up
is
and
Erin,
down.
and I'm the
What we're going to do is we're going to increase the ratio. Watch what happens right here. Increase the ratio to a 1 to 5 ratio. Then we're going to bring the threshold down just a little bit, maybe negative 25. And we're going to make it up by 25 or by 5 dB over here.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to
You notice how it sounds kind of squashed right now? That's okay. Let's go ahead and increase this to 10.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian Church of Champaign and Urbana.
All right, that's sounding just a little bit better. I'm actually going to increase this thresh area to negative 20.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian Church of Champaign and Urbana. My name is Erin, and I'm the Champaign location pastor.
That doesn't sound bad. We want to increase this just a little bit more, maybe to 12 dB. I'm going to increase this to 17. We want to push this just a little bit more.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian Church.
That sounds great. Now, if you notice, the audio is at negative 6 dB. That's right about
Hi,
where we want
thanks
it.
for tuning in.
Because we're going to be adding in music, and it's going to be pushing it up just a little bit more too. So whenever we export videos, we want it in between negative 6 and negative 0. And you can also monitor that over here. So let's exit out of that. Now we're going to add an equalizer. Or EQ. So channel EQ, we're just going to drag that in. Go over here to channel EQ. Bring this up.
Hi,
Sometimes it'll give you a display and sometimes it won't. So now we kind of just have to do this by ear. And if you have no idea what you're doing, that's okay. Here's a general rule of thumb. Add in a low cut. This red one right here is called a low cut. This right here, 24 dB, what we're going to do is increase that to the max. So it's going to be 48 dB. And we want to increase it from 20 Hz, which is 20 hertz, to right about 110.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian Church of Champaign and Urbana. My name is Erin.
I'm actually going to bring it to 120. What that does is it's cutting all of these low-end frequencies. And you can't really hear it if you're just listening to your built-in Mac speakers. That's okay. If you have headphones on, you might be able to. So what I'm going to do now is this is called a low shelf. It literally looks like a shelf. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase this, keeping it to the left of our low cut at about 88 hertz. Increase this 5 dB. Good job. All right. Now, this is going to be our low. The yellow is going to be our low. So let's go ahead and bring this in over here. So you notice how you have full control if you just click and drag it. What we're going to do is we're going to keep this at unity, which is 0 dB. And we're going to just play around with the frequencies. Let's listen to this.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian Church of Champaign and Urbana. My name is Erin, and I'm the Champaign location pastor.
You know, I don't know if you can hear that over the mic, but if you're playing around with this on your own, you can hear that when you bring it up, it sounds pretty gnarly, and when you bring it down, it sounds like a telephone. So we're going to play around with it. We're going to want to cut this down just a little bit. So let's go and listen to this.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian Church of Champaign and Urbana.
That sounds pretty good. Let's move on to the low mid, which is going to be this dark green.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian Church of Champaign and Urbana. My name is Erin, and I'm the Champaign location pastor.
So what I do is I do what's called a frequency sweep. So I bring it all the way as high as it can go, and then I just find where a frequency needs to be taken out.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian Church of Champaign and Urbana. My name is Erin, and I'm the Champaign location pastor. Glad we can gather.
Sounds like right about there. So what I'm going to do is I take no less than 5 dB out. So let's go ahead and take this out.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian Church of Champaign and Urbana.
That sounds pretty good. It's very minute, but it does make a huge difference. So let's go ahead and take out edit the mid-highs, which is going to be kind of this teal green.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian Church of Champaign and Urbana. My name is Erin, and I'm the Champaign location pastor.
Right there. That sounded bad. It gave me a headache. So let's take that down.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian Church.
And I don't like how white this is. You see how white it is? What we're going to do is we're going to click and drag that just a little bit like that.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian Church of Champaign and Urbana. My name is Erin, and I'm the Champaign location pastor. Glad we can.
And you can really make some minute editing with that. So let's edit the highs now.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian Church of Champaign and Urbana. My name is Erin, and I'm the Champaign location pastor.
It's right here. That was terrible. I even had to turn my volume down because it was so bad. So let's go just take this down. That way we don't have to listen to that.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian Church of Champaign and Urbana. My name is Erin, and I'm the Champaign location pastor. Glad we.
Awesome. Now let's edit this high shelf a little bit.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian Church of Champaign and Urbana. My name is Erin, and I'm the Champaign location pastor. Glad we can gather.
So I usually bring the high shelf in just a little bit, and I add a low cut, or a high cut rather. Do the same thing, 48 dB, and bring it in right about 13,000 hertz.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian Church of Champaign and Urbana.
That sounds great. So let's listen to this on and off rather.
Everybody, first is for everybody. Every week at First Christian Church, we take communion.
So that's on. Here's off.
If you haven't already, go and grab your communion elements now.
On.
We recommend using crackers and juice. At first, we practice life-giving generosity.
It sounds so much better with that on. If you have no idea what you just did, that's okay. And if you don't know how to do it and you don't feel comfortable doing it, that is okay. Let your supervisor know. All right. So now that I haven't looked at this a lot more, I see that this is very saturated. So we're going to go back and fix this while we're thinking about it. So I'm just going to decrease this saturation on this hue and saturation tab. That looks a lot better. Okay, back to audio. There's one more thing we need to add, and that's a de-esser. What that does is it takes out the harsh S's like S and sh, those sounds. So you spell it D-E-E-S-S-E-R. Click and drag on. Go back to our audio tab over here. Edit it. All right, let's take a listen.
Everybody, first is for everybody. Every week at First Christian Church, we
now there's some defaults that are actually pretty good. So let's go ahead and do female voice de-esser.
Take communion. If you haven't already, go and grab your communion elements now. We recommend using
And let's go to use a female strong de-esser.
crackers and juice. At first, we practice life-giving generosity.
This one sounds a lot better, so let's go to edit the smoothing.
Through the use of the Give app, GYVE. When you give to the ministry of First, you give through the ministry of First to the world around us. You can download the app on the App Store. Consider partnering with...
That doesn't sound bad. What you want to be careful about using a de-esser is making someone sound like they have a lisp. So that's something that we're always having to be careful of when we do that. Cool. Awesome. We're just about done with this. So what we're going to do now is we've done audio, we've done color. It looks so good right now. Great job. Good job pushing through. If you don't understand something, just go back and watch it. And let's go take a look at this without all the color, because I'm just curious about what this looks like. So that's what we started out with. And that's what we have now. Pretty amazing, right? All right, what we're going to do is we're going to finish up this video and we're going to export it. All right, so what we need to do is we need to make this clip right down here and this clip right up here a compound clip. The reasoning for that is we have to make sure that when we crossfade, both of these crossfade at the same time. And it's just easier to make a compound clip and add a crossfade to both of them. So what we're going to do, select them, double tap on your trackpad, and we're just going to name this Facebook clip. That's fine. Go and change it to the event compound clips, hit OK. It makes it one clip. It's baked into one another. We can still edit it by double clicking on it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to our transitions, add an across dissolve, just drag it and drop it on top, and it's going to add one to the end, drag it and bring it to the end. Great job. What we're also going to do is we're going to add one more graphic. This is going to be an intro outro graphic. We're going to do this graphic right here. It's labeled outro logo. We're going to add it to the beginning, and we're going to add it to the end. So this, we want to trim this down to about 2 seconds long. You notice how it brings in two numbers right there? The number on the left where it says 3.01, that's how long it is. It's about 3 seconds and 1 frame long. And we were taking out 7 seconds and 12 frames. So we're going to move this to about 3 seconds is fine. Right about there. Same thing over here, 3 seconds. We're going to add a cross dissolve to the end of that one and to the beginning of this one. Let's watch this.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian Church of Champaign and Urbana.
That looks great. Good job. One more thing. Music. This is important. So we want to add in kind of a super upbeat one. So let's take a listen to this one. That's more of like a announcement one. So let's listen to Upbeat TV. Let's do this one. This is fun. Oh, I did something. Drag this in. And look at that. It's just about right. So what I'm going to do is, let's go listen to this.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian Church of Champaign.
Let's check. Go to the end.
How God might speak to you today.
So it's just about where we need it to be. So we're going to have to take something out. So I'm going to take out something here at the beginning. So let's take a listen to this. Cutting audio down is one of the things that is most annoying. So let's do this.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian
Right about here is where it's going to repeat that. So let's listen to it again.
Church of Champaign.
See, it does the same exact thing. So let's delete this out and move this over. And let's see where we're at. Look at that. Let's take a listen to the beginning.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to First Christian Church of Champaign and Urbana.
That sounds great. Listen to the end.
Glad you're with us. I invite you to be open and listen to how God might speak to you today.
That looked great. Good job. What we're going to do now is we are going to edit this audio just a little bit. So first of all, we're going to bring it down 8 dB. So -8.
The app on the App Store. Consider partnering with First today. We want you to feel connected at First. For more information about...
Alrighty, so the one last thing we're going to do. go back to this original clip with Aaron's audio. So we're going to have to double click on it since we already baked it into a compound clip. Double click and see how it brings in those two clips. So let's click on Aaron. What we need to do is save effect preset. We actually need to go to the audio, hit save effects preset, and we want to save all of these. Name it Aaron, F, Aaron Fenelon, F, audio, host, save. And that's going to save it in that same exact folder that we had made earlier. So now to get back to our project, go over here to project, double click on Facebook, and we're back here. So click on this music down here, go to effects, go down to first audio, boom, just like that. What we're going to want to do is take off the compressor, take off the de-esser, and we want to edit this. We want to keep the channel EQ on, but we want to edit it. So we're going to take out the high cut and the high shelf. I'm going to take out the low cut and leave the low shelf. Let's listen to it.
First is for everybody. Every week at First Christian Church, we take communion. If you haven't already, go and grab your communion.
That sounds absolutely great. So what we're going to do now is we're going to export it. The reason we did all that and kept this channel EQ in was because we want to make sure that with the audio, whatever editing that we've done with her voice, we want to make sure that her voice stands out. So we did the same exact thing EQ-wise to the music as we did to her voice. That's why we did that. All right, we are good to export this. So how do you export it is we are going to hit this little arrow guy up here in your top right-hand corner. We're going to go to master file. Click on that. This is fine. Go to settings. This is super, super important. You want to make sure you're exporting video and audio. Source Apple ProRes 422. Make sure yours look exactly like this. Go to roles. This is fine. Hit next. All right. And this is where we're going to save it into our respective folder that we've already created. Go to Psalms or whatever you're working in. Go to your video tab and hit cuts. And then we're just going to name it Welcome Facebook. Hit save. And it's exporting right now. Great job. And when you're done with this video, send it over to whoever is supervising this project. Thank you.